boy. No. Part boy. Part boy.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Chris Converse, and welcome to Creating a Responsive Web Design. In this course, we'll be creating a web design that will respond to various screen sizes. This means the layout will change based on the visitor's screen size, and on smaller screens, we'll move our top navigation to the bottom of the screen so that those users can focus on the content before seeing the navigation. Now, as we build our project, we'll be covering many aspects of HTML and CSS, including how to link CSS selectors to HTML elements, giving you a solid foundation which you can use to explore further techniques once you complete the course. We'll begin by creating an HTML file that will contain only the content and structure. Then we'll create a series of CSS rules to style the content and construct various layouts based on your visitor's screen size. We'll also create a set of CSS rules that will rearrange and adapt our content for the printed page, allowing us to reduce the amount of ink needed to print the page, as well as help reduce the number of pages that would need to be printed. And in addition to style and layout, we'll also cover techniques such as creating animated transitions with CSS, as well as transforming a bullet list into a fully interactive menu system, complete with support for touch devices and multi-input operating systems and their browsers. And in cases where we need additional content, such as graphics for QR codes, or even text and design elements, we'll make use of CSS pseudo elements. This technique provides a way to add additional information without adding code to our HTML file, keeping our content clean and focused so it's more easily searched, and making it easier for us to change aspects of the design in the future. And finally, the exercise files for this course are available to all members. So we've got a lot of ground to cover, so download your files and let's start creating a responsive web design. In this course, you'll create a web layout that will respond to various screen sizes, providing an optimal design and reading experience for your visitors. And in addition to optimizing our design for screens, we'll also make our design printer friendly by helping users conserve ink, use less sheets of paper, and provide them with multiple ways to get back to the website from the printed page. We'll start the course by creating a well-structured HTML page that focuses on the content. Then we'll use CSS to create the style and layout. Finally, we'll use media settings in CSS to optimize our design for smaller screens and for print. And this course provides step-by-step instructions for every aspect of the project, so you don't need to have any prior knowledge of HTML and CSS. And since we'll be building a specific project, this course will introduce you to real-world uses of a series of HTML elements and CSS properties. My goal is to cover a wide range of techniques and teach you how to construct a web design that is attractive, responsive, and shows you how to combine various HTML elements with CSS properties. So if you learn a new or interesting technique in this course, you'll be able to use other online resources to search and explore other variations on your own. If you're new to HTML and CSS, I want to take a few minutes here and talk about the terms and technologies we'll be using throughout this course. Now, HTML is an acronym for Hypertext Markup Language, and CSS is an acronym for Cascading Style Sheet. In this course, we'll be creating an HTML file and a CSS file, and these will be two separate files. And it's the HTML file that's loaded in the browser. And in turn, the HTML file can have link tags or other types of tags that can bring in additional content. So early in the course, we're going to link to a separate CSS file. The HTML file can also link to other resources on your web server, such as images, videos, scripts, and more. Now, some of the words we'll be using about HTML will be terms like tags, elements, attributes. So here we see a standard HTML element. When we hear the word tag in relation to HTML, typically what we're talking about is an element name. So in this case, a div element, the div here that's highlighted, with a less than sign at the beginning and a greater than sign at the end. An attribute is additional information inside of the tag. So in this case, the attribute name is called class, and the value is set to be equal to content. When we combine the beginning tag and the ending tag, at the bottom here we can see the /div, these together make up the entire HTML element. So when we talk about an HTML element, we're including the beginning tag and the ending tag and all of the content inside. Now when we're talking about CSS, we're typically talking about a CSS rule, and a rule consists of a selector, properties, and values. So when we create a selector, we need to have the name of the selector match either the HTML element name, so a div tag in this case, or we can name things after IDs or classes, which are attributes that we'll put onto the HTML elements. And once we make the connection between the selector and the HTML elements, we can then define the properties that we want to change, and then set the properties equal to a specific value. So here we would be looking for the HTML element of a div, changing the color of the type to be black. So as I mentioned before, we're going to be going through this entire project step by step. But if there's anything in the course you want to find more information about, or if you want to explore other techniques at the end of this course, you can visit the W3C School's websites and find a full list of HTML elements at /tags, or find a full set of CSS properties at /CSSref. And so now that you have a sense of some of the terms and technologies we'll be covering, next we'll talk about the software you'll need to complete the project. The first thing that you'll need in order to complete this project is a little bit of patience. What makes the web so powerful is the separation of content and style. This is how we share data and content in feeds across different websites, while maintaining each site's design integrity. So once you understand this relationship, you'll be able to style any HTML content with CSS. And as for the software, you'll need a text editor. There are many free and commercial text editors available for any platform that you're using. And here's a list of some of the most popular text editors for both the Macintosh and Windows platforms. And in addition to a text editor, you'll also need a web browser. All of the following browsers support HTML5 and CSS3 and will allow you to resize your browser to preview the responsive breakpoints that we're going to be adding in the project. Now, since the goal of this course is to build a project that will respond to multiple screen sizes and devices, if you have any mobile devices that you can test your project on, that will give you a first-person view of how the content will adapt to a small screen. And if you have a printer, you can test how the design will print as well, including testing the QR code with your mobile device that comes out of the printer. And finally, all of the web graphics for this course are included, so you will not need any graphic software in order to complete the project. However, if you would like to customize any of the graphics, I would certainly encourage you to do so, but it's not necessary for this course. And so now that we know what to expect with the course, we know what software we're going to need, next we'll discuss all of the files that are included in the exercise files. The exercise files for this course are available to all members and consist of a folder named ch01 and another folder named ch07. Now inside of the folder named ch01, you'll find another folder named 01_01. Inside there are 3 additional folders: Files, Graphics, and Snippets. The Files folder contains an HTML file and 2 CSS files. Now these files are mostly empty, but I wanted to make sure that we all started with properly formatted files. Now the Graphics folder contains a copy of all of the final optimized web graphics that we'll be using. There are 2 types of files in here. There are bitmap-based files in the JPEG format, and there's also some vector-based graphics in the SVG format. And we'll talk more about these specific files later on. And the Snippets folder has a single HTML file inside. Now this HTML file just has some code bits that we can copy and paste into our project. And all of these pieces of code are non-essential to the course. They just keep you from having to type anything repetitively. And finally, inside of the ch07 folder, there's another folder inside of there named 07_01 with another graphics folder. This folder contains additional graphics that we can use if you want to follow along on the chapter where we style our web page for print. And now that we know what to expect from this course, in addition to the files that we have and the software that we'll need, we're now ready to start building our project. Now to begin our project, let's first create a folder on the desktop. So create a new folder, we'll name this My Website. Then we'll open this up. And then once you've created that folder, let's come inside of here. Let's create 2 additional folders. One we'll name CSS, and the other one we'll name Images. With these created, let's go back to the exercise files. Let's go into the Chapter 01 folder. Let's open up the 01_01, and let's find the Files directory. Let's come in here, and you can either copy or move the index.html file. Let's move that into the root or the top level area of the My Website folder. Let's come back and let's get the print CSS and the screen CSS. Let's copy these to the CSS directory. Then let's go back, let's close up files. Let's open up the graphics folder. Select all of these, and let's copy all of these into the images directory. Once these are all copied, let's close up these files here in the exercise files. Now back in our main project, our root folder, which is this main folder here, has the index.html file out in the root, which means it's out in the main area of this folder. Then we have an images directory and a CSS directory. So this is going to keep all of our web assets nicely organized. Now once we have this in place, let's select the index.html file And let's open this up in a text editor. Now, as I mentioned before, this file is mostly blank. This has the minimum requirements to define this as an HTML document. We have our document type at the top, our main HTML element, then a heading area, and then a body area. We're going to be adding all of our markup here, where I have this HTML comment. At the top, we have a content type, declaring this as text HTML with a character set of UTF-8. We have a meta tag with the name of viewport. What this particular tag does, by defining width as device width and initial scale, this is the tag that will tell individual devices not to scale the web page, but rather to use the initial scale of 1, meaning if we're on a device that has 700 pixels across, it will render the page as if there's only 700 pixels, allowing the rest of the HTML to move around. The device will not attempt to show the entire web page and scale it down. And if we didn't have this particular tag in here, every device would try to render the entire web page and we would have to zoom up. So again, the idea here is we're going to make the page respond to the individual devices and adjust the layout so the users don't have to zoom in on the content. And then finally here we have our title tag. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hook in our screen CSS file. We're first going to build our screen layout, and then later on in the course we're going to build in the print styles. So to hook in our CSS file, we're going to hit a return after the title element. We're going to use a link tag. So we're going to type a less-than sign, the word link, then a space. We're going to set a relationship, so rel equals style sheet, then a space. The type, we're going to set this to text/CSS, then a space. Next, we're going to use a media attribute to define that this particular CSS file is going to be used for screens. So we'll type media equals 2 quotes. Inside of the quotes, we'll type screen, then a space. Then we're going to type href equals, and then we're going to go into our CSS directory. So we're in the main root, so we can do CSS / screen.css. And then outside of the value for the href, let's close the link tag. So now that we have all of our files set up on the desktop and we have our CSS file hooked into the HTML, next we'll create our outermost HTML containers based on our layout strategy.